comment. I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com, and welcome to another live video here on YouTube. I thought I would do something a little bit different in this one. We're always talking about fluency and how to become a more confident English speaker, but I really want to show you how this process works and talk specifically about aha moments. But let me make sure the video is actually showing live for people. Hopefully it will in a moment. It says we're live here. George is there. Raul, nice to see you there. All right, I guess we are live for some people at least. All right, so what I want to do in this video is actually show you how you can develop fluency in a language without translating. And this is a big part of developing confidence and being able to communicate fluently without needing to hesitate or translate and think about rules, that kind of thing in your head. And so I want to show you, I'll give you a story that just happened like a couple of days ago with my younger daughter, Noelle. I'll share that in a minute. But first I wanted to just show you an example, kind of connecting all these things together about how aha moments are really powerful for you, how they can really bring fluency to you instead of you having to chase after fluency by trying to study more and trying to force yourself to talk more when you're not feeling confident. Because the basic idea is if you don't really feel confident in conversations, you're not going to speak. So why don't we really help you feel confident about conversations before you speak? And that way, when you do have conversations, you will feel a lot more confident and speak more fluently. So let me give you an example. This should be a pretty simple thing, but I'll just contrast this pretty quickly. This should be not even that long of a video, but I'll keep my eye on comments as usual. And if anybody has anything, any questions about this or something else, let me know and I will come back to that later. All right, so this idea of aha moments, it really comes from making connections, and it's not about trying to force things into your mind. It's about like how I can really understand things and have clarity, so understanding things without a doubt, rather than me trying to force things into my brain. So I'm going to give you a very basic example. It will use some words that you already know, but I want to show you how aha moments build on each other, and that's why I'm taking a simpler example to do this. So let's say I wanted to teach you something the traditional way I would teach you. Typically, I would begin with something in, let me use a better marker, something in your native language. So most people begin learning what they call a second language. So ESL, like English as a second language or English as a foreign language. But you would have a word in your native language, and then you would try to make a connection to a word in English. So let's just I'll just use Japanese for example because I'm in Japan, and then you want to connect that with some word in English. So you learn a word, and then you're making a connection in English. Now, again, the idea of aha moments is connections. And if you have a strong connection with a word, you will remember that word and you will use it confidently and fluently. But if you have a weak connection, like you're just using a translation, you're really not helping yourself like make a connection that actually helps your brain understand the language better. So for example, I could try to connect like this marker with this water bottle over here in the same way I could connect a word in one language with a word in another. But it doesn't really, I mean, I could probably create a connection somehow, like think of a way to connect this water bottle or this water bottle and this marker over here, but it doesn't really help me understand either of those things very well. I'm not really making a connection between these two things that's important to me, that's meaningful to me, that's emotional, and so I will probably forget that. So again, I probably could make a connection just like you can use translations and learn a language. The problem is this usually causes you to think and translate when you speak. So if you have to take a test or something, translations can probably help you, but if you want to speak, you really want to be thinking in the language you're speaking. So let me show you how this works. So let me give you just a very quick example of something in Japanese. I think most of the people who watch my videos are not from Japan and do not speak Japanese, so I can give you a Japanese example and this will be a little bit clearer that way. But I will write the example in English here, or phonetically in English, so you can understand what I'm talking about a little bit better. But if I were actually teaching you Japanese, I would not really use any English or whatever your native language is. I would just teach you everything all in Japanese. So here's a very quick example of this. Maka. これはマーカー。これ、それはマーカー。これ、それ、これ、これ、これ、これ、それ、これ、それ。All right, very simple example. So I'm just using Japanese to teach you Japanese, but helping you through the context to understand what that means. Now, let's see if anybody figured that out, and it's okay if you don't use it perfectly yet, that's fine. The point is really just to develop understanding within the language itself without needing translations. That's why I didn't tell you what I'm going to talk about before I gave you the example. Now, if we were to translate it now, what do you think kore and sore mean? All right, I'll give you the example one more time. Maka, maka. Kore wa maka. Kore, sore, kore, sore, kore, sore. Pretty easy, right? All right, so the point is I don't need to give you an example or explain something within the other language. Whatever your native language is, it doesn't matter. You should be at least beginning to understand the difference between these words and what they mean. And so Rola got that correct. Nice. This and that. So if I were to give you a translation, this is basically what I would do. I would just begin with saying, today class, we're going to learn some Japanese, and I will be teaching you these words over here and telling you that this means kore and that means sore. But if I do that, it will stop you from having an aha moment like, okay, I understand what's happening, because you're connecting the sounds or the words with the situation. So instead of trying to learn Japanese through English, you're actually learning Japanese through the situation itself. And we just call this the context. But the point here is that you're able to understand something. Kore. Kore ne. Kore wa maka. Kore wa maka. Sore. Kore. Sore. Okay? So even if you can't pronounce it perfectly, or you can't say it, or you even perfectly can't hear what I'm saying, it's fine. The point is more that you're starting to understand Japanese in Japanese the same way a child would. Okay? So you don't need to be a native to learn that way. What this teaches us is that you become a native by learning the language directly. That's what it means to become a native. It's not where you're born, it's how you learn a language. Does that make sense? All right? So this is the first part of this that I wanted to teach, but I want to make sure this makes sense for everybody. So please post in the comments if you understand this idea. The point is not to give yourself a weak connection to the language just by getting a translation. The point really is to help you understand things and make strong connections with them. Sometimes those connections are made from the situation itself. Sometimes they come maybe from connecting multiple words together, whatever that thing is, but the point is you can actually feel it when it happens, okay? So again, you might not be fluent immediately in using kore and sore, and there are many ways we could go into teaching more about this and helping you understand it more the same way a Japanese child would. But the point is that we're just beginning here just to help you see that it is possible to learn Japanese in Japanese, just like you can learn English in English, even from very beginning. So you could be an adult, and we could be trying to teach you English, and this is why I teach English in English, all right? So I do it at a higher level for most people, but we also have an app called Frederick, which does this same thing for absolute beginners. So even adults or people who already know a lot of English use the app, but it's a way of learning English, all in English, all right? So the point is I want to give you an aha moment of like, not telling you what the word means, but showing you what it means so you understand that and you make that discovery yourself. All right? Makes sense? All right, so let's continue here. We have this basic idea. I wanted to just give you one example in Japanese with the words this and that. And then I'm going to show you how we take this to a deeper level when you're learning things and you're understanding things all in English. So let me erase this and we'll keep going. So the example I just gave you is a basic way of getting an aha moment, where we're connecting something like understanding the language in the context. And when you're learning English, you probably know a lot of basic words this way, often because you've seen them many times. But the point is, if you can recognize it in context, it becomes more memorable. You feel more confident about using it fluently, and that's how you become a successful speaker. So it's not about chasing fluency. Fluency comes to you as you understand the language better, all right? So let's begin. Let's say you already know like this and that. I will give you an example. And of course we get our usual fire truck or ambulance or whatever as I write these up here. So we're going to use the word that, and now we will switch to English because I want to tell a story about my younger daughter, Noelle, and how she was able to connect words to get a deeper aha moment, because these aha moments build on each other to really help you understand things even better. So my daughter, Noelle, knows English and Japanese, and the same example I used to teach you Japanese a moment ago, that's the same thing I do to help her learn English. So what I'm doing is we're helping, trying to create the conditions where you get aha moments automatically. All right, so if I can teach you well, it means I'm able to help you make these connections. All right, so Noelle learns lots of basic words like this and that and up and down, or good. Maybe I say like, you know, this is a pretty good marker. Maybe I'll give you a contrast here, like, so I have this black marker here. This is pretty good, but it's a little bit faded. Maybe the ink is running low. The ink is running low. So it's not really writing very well. So it's good. It's a good marker. But whoo, this one is better. Okay, so we have a good marker over here. Gonna write in a funny way. So good marker, and then we have a better marker over here. All right, so again, very simple examples where you could learn something in context, and this is the same way I would teach this to my children. So we might be, let's say I'm talking with my daughter and say, ooh, that's like a good idea. So maybe I say, hey, how should we do something? And you know, what are we going to do today? It's a nice day, we should go outside. What should we do? And so one of my daughters says, oh, why don't we do this? And I say, oh, that's a good idea. And then another daughter says, oh, like, well, we could also do this other thing and, you know, have more fun. I say, well, that's even better. That's even better, okay? So when I'm giving examples, I know you probably understand this vocabulary already, but just follow along with me here. So I'm giving some very basic things because I want to make it clear how a child learns these things in their own language. But again, these are the same things you could do to learn any language as well. So she learns words like this and that, or good and better, and now I can tell my story about what happened a few nights ago. So I was blow drying. I'll kind of draw a picture for you here. I was drying my younger daughter Noelle's hair. So here's me. I'm standing here, and I have my, you know, she's sitting down. She's got pretty long hair. It takes a while to blow dry it, but I'm, you know, just standing here with the blow dryer and, you know, blow drying her hair, and she's looking at a TV over here. So she's watching that, and because the blow dryer is very loud in her ear, she has the remote in her hand, and she starts turning up the volume, all right? So she can't hear very well. She was listening, let's say the volume level was down here before. So we'll just say this is 0 volume and this is 100 over here, like as loud as it can go. So it was down here. I turn on the the hair dryer, and now she can't hear anything. All right, so it's still too soft. So she picks up the remote and starts turning up the volume, and slowly it's going up and up and up and up and up and up and up until she's satisfied, like, okay, maybe it's at this point now up here, and she says, that's better, okay? Now, I want you to understand something. These are still simple words, but it was surprising and interesting to me because I had not heard her use that word or these words together in this phrase in the way that she used it. So it's not like she just said, that's better, like she was using the words. She actually understood this whole phrase here, like, ah, that's better, all right? So she was able to say it like that, using the correct words, the correct intonation, the correct phrasing, everything like pronunciation, all of it was perfect, like she had been using that for many years, all right? So you can understand probably from the situation, the volume is going up like now, it's kind of like it's okay here, but there we go. And finally, when she reaches the point where it's satisfying or the volume is okay, she says, ah, that's better, that's better. So again, I knew she knew both of those words, but I had never heard her combine these words in this way. And so that told me that probably, I don't know for sure, because I asked her, where did you hear that? Where did you hear, like, I don't recall, maybe I have said that, but probably not. But probably because she didn't know where she heard it, she just used it naturally without thinking. She probably just heard it from another TV show or something. But here's the interesting part. It was probably a different situation that had a similar kind of feel to it. So probably, let's just say, for example, she was watching a TV show, and in that TV show there is a character who is trying to put water. Again, there could be different reasons where you might, or different times or different situations where you might use this expression. But you have a character who's trying to put water into a tub, and they touch the water and think, ooh, that water is too cold. So they continue to put more warm water in until, now we reach, it's kind of the same idea here. She reaches something where she is satisfied and like, oh, that's better, okay? So this is not just about like something moving up slowly. This is like reaching a point where you feel satisfied about something, or it's what you would like. So something was not good before, and that's better, okay? So maybe you were irritated, like there's a loud sound happening, like these, sirens or whatever that I have around here. So maybe I hear that and it's annoying while it's happening, but then it's gone and I say, ooh, that's better, that's better. So it's like a feeling of relief. And the point I really want to make here is that when Noelle had that, like when she had this moment, it's not like right here where she was using the remote. So before, where she saw this in a TV show, or maybe she even learned it from me, I don't know for sure. But the point is, she had an aha moment where she connected the situation with the vocabulary. So it wasn't just one word. She was able to see, oh, in this situation, like the bath example or the loud noise example or something where you're unsatisfied or you're unhappy, and then you have a switch where we got, that's better, okay? So same thing, maybe you're trying to learn a language and it's frustrating for you because you're studying things and it doesn't feel like you're really improving. But then you get some good aha moments and you think like, like that's better. Like that way of learning is preferable. Now I understand things better, so that's better, okay? So these are very simple words, but the point is she was able to connect those because she saw somebody else do it in probably a different situation. Now, it might have been the exact same situation, but even if it was the same situation, she still understood that in this situation you can use the vocabulary this way, all right? So she really said that. I was just drying her hair and thought, wow, this is really amazing that she was able to use this like she was an adult using it. and I had never heard her use that before, okay? So I wanted to share this because it really demonstrates how fluency doesn't come from just pushing yourself to try to learn more or memorize more or repeat things more or say things more to yourself. It's really about understanding and making strong connections so that you feel confident about using the language, okay? And also, you get confident and fluent in particular words and phrases as you understand them, and then you can start making stronger connections or building new things, creating new expressions yourself. This is why people can write novels or whatever books and make some interesting use of the language because they've seen lots of examples and now they can create their own connections or things like that. But the point is, if you have these strong connections, that's what allows you to speak. So Noelle already knew the word that, and she already knew the word better. And even if she did not know those two, she could still have learned this expression in this way from a situation like that. But my guess is she already knew that. I know she knew both of these words, but then she said, that's better. In the same way that like a native might discover something, or even a non-native might discover something, whether it's about language or not. So the point is not like that it's only for language learning or learning a new language. Like you have these moments all the time where you realize something, or you discover something, or you solve a problem, or you figure out the answer to a mystery or something like that. But it's that moment that really makes you feel confident and sure about using the language. You think like, I've got it now. That's that aha moment. And so the point is, instead of just discovering these things or having them happen accidentally, we really want to create them. And so hopefully you've seen a little bit here. I could go into lots of different ways that I do this, like how we do it in Fluent for Life, or how you do it by yourself using Frederick. But the point is really that the more you can see natives actually talking, and connect more with situations and really understand vocabulary from various angles. So rather than learning a word like that and me just taking that and trying to repeat it again and again, what I should be doing is comparing it to this, just like I gave you in the example before about the marker, like this marker, that marker, kore, sore. So the Japanese like kore, sore, and further away is like are. So if I can help you understand those things within the language itself, you will feel much more confident about using it. Does all this make sense? So again, the idea here is not that we want to translate to learn, because this is a much faster and easier way to do it if you can give yourself these aha moments. So this is what I do in Fluent for Life. We've got thousands of aha moments. The whole point of it is to really help you understand the language like a native, rather than trying to think about it like a student. Okay, but when you do it this way, again, it becomes automatic, it becomes easier, and it becomes a much faster learning process because you just start making connections, and then when you make connections, then new connections become easier to make. So Noelle already knew that. She already knew better. And so when she heard people using the language like that, she made that connection. It was an aha moment. I can guess, I didn't see it happen, but I'm pretty sure because I don't see her walking around the house practicing the vocabulary. She's not like, that's better, that's better, that's better, saying things in a mirror. She just understood something and got it and then used it correctly. All right, pretty cool, right? So this is the way I recommend teaching. This is how I teach, and the more you can get these aha moments yourself, the faster you will get fluent. All right, let me go back and check chat, see if everybody gets the idea, and of course we have another fire truck or whatever, but I'll go through again chat, see if anybody has any questions. But as I mentioned, this is not I don't really need an hour-long video to explain this idea. The point is really, when you can understand things in the language, you will feel a lot more excited about learning because you understand things better, you feel more confident about using them, and the process works much faster. Okay, so you don't have to chase fluency. It can come to you if you start getting these moments and creating that environment where those moments happen. All right, George says hello, Raul again, and Adam says, hey sir, I miss your lessons. Well, just watch them anytime. They're freely available. And Rolla says, nice to see you and good evening. And Danielle says, hello, my fave teacher who seems Dave Matthews. Oh, you think I look like Dave Matthews? Really? You know, I saw him in person. I used to work at I worked at a Japanese restaurant in Seattle, and he came in there one time. And I was like, oh. And he said, hey, you look like me, you know. All right, let's see. Shrook has a bunch of funny looking emoticons over there. Bilal says, hi, are you good? I am. Hassan says, greetings, sir. How can I enhance my aha moment in Ramadan while I'm fasting? Well, I mean, you don't have to be in a particular situation or at a particular time to get aha moments. What's interesting, though, like when I thought about this for myself learning, all of these moments came when I was understanding the language in context, but trying to like be intentional about that. So not like I would just hear something, I would also try to get more examples of that thing. So I would hear a phrase and think like, oh, that's interesting. I bet this means something like that. So if I was still unsure, the key is really to eliminate any doubt I had. So I wanted to find out, okay, I hear a word or phrase, maybe I need to hear it again from a different speaker or something just to make sure I'm hearing the exact thing. Like I was giving the example before, if I say like kore, 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 like I'm speaking quickly in Japanese, it's not really clear what I'm saying. And especially because the sounds are not in English. Like this like kore, like if I'm gonna write it in Japanese, so like in katakana like this, it's like, and I'm writing very like sloppily here, but the ko and the like re, like we don't say it like that. The sound is not in English. So it'd be more like, let me make this a little bit nicer. Oh my goodness. A little bit like nicer looking hiragana over here. But the point is like the L sound and the R sound, it's not in Japanese. So it's more of a combination of L, D, and R together. So it's okay if I give you an example and you don't understand exactly how something sounds, that's okay. Even children, they hear people speaking, and most people are not speaking perfectly clearly, you know, especially like your grandparents, you're listening to them and you don't quite understand what they're talking about. But the point is, if you hear something, you can be more intentional about how you get aha moments. And this is why I teach the way I do and have Fluent for Life and also Frederick teaching in the same way, where you're not just getting one example of something. We really want to make sure you get many and hear them in different ways so you feel very confident that you understand what something means, all in English. All right, let's see if I missed anybody here. So I don't know about specifically about Ramadan, but if you've just got time to do stuff, then spend more time getting examples in English, but do it systematically. So this means instead of just watching a movie where you watch one thing and you get a bunch of interesting examples, maybe you don't understand all of them, like it's better to focus on a particular thing and get a bunch of examples for that thing that help you understand it better. All right, Marino says, good evening, and Claudia, hi Drew, I'm from Brazil, nice to see you again. And we've got Korean again, which I can't read the Hangul. Hello, teacher, I am Korean. Korean and English have different grammar, so it's hard to learn. Yes, so remember that like a child born in Korea is learning everything within the Korean system, and a child born in the United States is learning everything in the English system. But what's interesting is if you take a child and then start teaching them, like, you know, you could move this child from one to the other, and you could try to teach them through translations, which would make it more difficult for them. But if you actually start teaching an English-speaking child the Korean system in Korean and you make it easy for them, then there is no real struggle about grammar and trying to understand things. So it's more about the translation. The way people learn makes it more difficult for you. All right, Hassan says, I like when you said from nowhere, is that make any sense? Yes, we say do that, or does that make sense? So does this, you know, do you understand the idea? Is it clear? Is it understandable? Do you follow what I'm saying? Alejandro, nice to see you there, sub bro. Greetings from Mexico. Allah says the sound is weak. Hopefully it should be fine, but if I'm facing a different way, maybe it might, I don't know, maybe it gets lower or something. But yeah, you could say the sound is weak, you could say the sound is low. Both are correct. Vincent says, I discovered my aha moment of learning English from your teaching. Glad to hear it. Yes. So you can have different levels of aha moments as well. You could have aha moments like a recognition or a realization about a particular word or phrase or a grammar point or whatever, or about learning in general. Like, wow, like I could actually learn a language in that language rather than trying to teach myself something through my native language. Okay. So that there are lots of different keys or aha moments you might have about a variety of things like that. Allah says, hey guys, the sound, oh, okay. Yep, the volume is low. Sound is fine. Maybe you have a problem with your sound. Thomas says, hello, Thomas from the Dominican Republic. Nice to see you there. All right, well, I knew this would be a short video, but if anybody has any questions about this, let me know. Or we can finish the video and we can all just go enjoy the rest of our day. I've been kind of struggling with hay fever a bit, so my eyes are a little bit red. Maybe you can see that. But I really wanted to teach this lesson. Whenever I see people having aha moments, like they realize something, and this is for me, the biggest drawback or the limitation or the thing I don't really like so much about this kind of teaching is because I can't see your face. So I can't see if I'm teaching something like, okay, this message is clear, they understand. I can look in your eyes and see if you understand something or not, like the way I'm talking with someone in person or I'm trying to help my own kids. But even if I can't do that, you know, your comments are helpful, and typically I understand, I know how to give aha moments very well. So when I'm giving a particular lesson, I can be pretty sure that people understand what I'm saying. Saeed says, so the point is to learn new vocabulary through different actions instead of learning it through translation. It's not necessarily about learning it through actions. It's just more understanding the thing within the context itself. Because, well, the two main reasons, again, number one, if you're learning through translations, then you're going to have trouble speaking because you'll be thinking about translations and getting stuck when you speak. But the other reason is that vocabulary doesn't really mean anything by itself. If I just teach you like, I'm trying to think of an obscure, a difficult word that you might not know. Let me see. What's a good word I could think? Like for a situation or something. I could just make up a word. Here, I'll make up, here's ziply. This is not an English word, but if I just say a word like this and say, okay, I'd like you to repeat after me, maybe that even sounds like a company name. It's like a modern, it's like a tech company or something. But it's almost, you can think about it like a cloud. It's just kind of floating around. The sound or the word doesn't mean anything by itself. It only means something when you can connect it with some kind of situation. So it is the connection itself that's important when you're learning a language. And really when you're learning anything. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're learning science or, you know, technology or whatever. The point is to help your brain make these connections rather than just take a bunch of lists or rules or something and try to force yourself to remember it. So it is possible to learn that way, and many people do, but a lot more people really struggle with the language by learning it that way. So again, as I mentioned, the translation idea, if you're learning through translations, that's going to cause you to translate more when you speak, and you won't really be understanding the language or thinking like a native or thinking in English, if English is the language. And the other reason is because the vocabulary itself doesn't mean anything outside of the situation, okay? So I could take a word like ziply and just say, okay, repeat after me, and you know, I'd have to really show you what that means in a context, all right? So helping you understand why we use that word, or where, or when, or whatever, okay? So I gave, Arola says, this word reminds me of zephyr. Yeah, it's kind of similar with that Z sound, and I actually gave a lesson about Zephyr if you've seen that one on my channel. It's not a live video, it's just a regular video. But I talk about Zephyr and give you an aha moment, helping you understand what that word means. So it's a similar idea, but again, the point is vocabulary itself doesn't really mean anything. Okay, I just like hear a word, it's a sound, okay, like bah, I don't understand what that means. But if I hear a word used in context, like let's just say, again, most of the people who watch my channel are not Japanese speakers or Japanese natives. So if I say like, yosha, yosha, what do you think that means? I've just given you something, like it's like a sound, but you have no context. You don't really see anything. I could give you a translation of that. It's like, yosha, yosha, like yatta. I could say those things to you, and like without really seeing why we're using it or when we're using it, it's just more difficult for you to understand. And I make the problem worse by just giving you a translation. But if you see me in context, like I am a child and I just took a test, I've been practicing for that test for a while, and I get the test back from my teacher and I got a perfect score, like yatta, yatta. And then you think, okay, like this is, it's like an exclamation, like a kind of positive thing, like yes, I did it, that kind of thing, okay? So it's about connecting the sound or the word with the situation, like yes, I did it, okay? All right, so like yippee or something like that. But the point is, if you can learn it in the language you're learning, then it makes sense, okay? Hopefully you guys are getting the idea. All right, the volume should be fine. The microphone is exactly as it usually is. I might just be like looking a different way from time to time, but all right. So making sure, the point is not necessarily like through seeing an action. You could learn something and hear another situation or connect different vocabulary together just by hearing people talk about things. The point is making strong connections with the vocabulary. And when you make those connections, you can feel it. So you know you're improving, you know you're developing fluency, and you feel a lot more confident about speaking, okay? So it's helpful, certainly, if you get words in context and you can connect that. You see natives talking about things and you see, oh, that's interesting. In this situation, people say this. Or in this situation, here are a couple of different things that people might use. All right, so natives are doing this all the time. They don't realize it, but like typically you might notice something and think, oh, like that's interesting. That's an aha moment. And so the point is, instead of just randomly or accidentally getting these aha moments, if you can get them intentionally, systematically, then you will get fluent faster. All right, hopefully that makes sense. All right, let me answer last few comments here. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to post them below. Adelson says, thanks for the lesson. It's possible to apply a aha moment in listening because are you asking a question, or let's see, in listening because I'm memorizing some pronunciation? Yes, so again, aha moments can come from anything, and they can be for vocabulary or pronunciation or grammar or whatever the situation is. The point is, do you understand that thing without a doubt or not? Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay, I got that one already. So like hi or welcome. Yeah, so hi and welcome, like those aren't the same thing. They don't mean the same thing, but you can hear how people would use them in related situations. So I might say hi to someone just seeing them on the street. And so as you see more examples of hi, I'm just greeting somebody like that. But I could also be in a store and I say hi to someone who comes into my store. But I could also say welcome, okay? So when you're talking about welcome, that's a specific phrase where someone walks into your store and you're greeting them because they came into your place. It could be coming into your home. You could welcome someone into their, or into your own home as well. Same kind of idea, all right? So it's not about like this word and trying to look at them. Like you have to look at the whole picture and think about different situations where something might be used. So usually what happens is you will hear one example of something like hi, someone says hi, and then you think, oh, okay, like I can maybe use this as a greeting. But then someone else says hello, or someone says greetings, or someone says what's up, or other things like that. As you get more examples of it, they help you organize the language and think what's casual or what's professional or where and when I can use something. So getting one example, or even worse, just getting one translation of something is really limiting for your ability to speak, because it's just not giving your brain that much information. This is why it's important to get many examples to really feel confident about using things. So don't feel bad if you learn something and you don't understand it immediately, or you still have questions about that thing. That's normal, that's fine. It's okay to learn something and you think, just like the hi example or the welcome example, like I might walk into a store and the person says hi to me, but then he also says welcome, or maybe they only say welcome as an example. So I might think as a young child, okay, I should say welcome to people when I greet them. But my parents might say, no, you don't say welcome when you greet people, because they're not like coming over to your house or something like that. So you're not inviting them in to do something. And in that way, I get more clarity, more understanding about the word. And so usually these aha moments, they stack on each other. You get one, and then another, and another, and another. And as you keep getting these, if you can get them faster and faster, which happens as you start learning the native way, then you feel a lot more confident about speaking. All right. All right, let's see here if we had, Rose says, what is the difference between certainty and actually? Certainty, oh, you mean certainly and actually? So again, like to be certain, and often I remind people, just like I gave the example about hi and welcome, when you learn a word, it's not like it has only one meaning or it could only have one use. So it's a little bit more complicated than just what is the difference between this word and that word. Because there might be some times when we can use a word in the same way, and other times when maybe we cannot, like I just gave with the hi and welcome example. And so if I'm just teaching you some new words, it's good to get lots of situations or examples when you learn something. So typically something like certainly or certainty, if we're talking about being certain, it means you're like exact or precise about something. So I want, like as an example, I could show this in a visual way. Like if I have a target right here, if I'm aiming for the target and I want to I hit over here first, like I really want to be here. This is like the certain bullseye, like right there, like this is like for sure, this is exactly what we're looking for, okay? So like a friend of mine says, hey, we should go shopping and get you some new clothes. And I say like, okay, let's go to the store and buy something. And he shows me some things and says, oh, try this on. And I say, yeah, I don't really like this one. But then I try something else and like, ooh, like, wow, that one is really good. And it's like, ooh, that's like, and he says, wow, do you like that one? Like, are you sure? Are you certain? And I say, yes. So my feeling in this case is like certain. Like I know for sure it's not general, or it's not a different thing, or kind of correct. It's absolutely certain, okay? So if we're talking about actually is more like people might think that there's something over here, or they have a belief, but actually like the thing is over here instead. So it's typically like a way of looking at a different way of understanding something or seeing something that's different from what we expected or what we assume, okay? So maybe people think like it's a good idea to study a lot of grammar to improve your English. So that's a belief people might have. Or another belief people might have is, I can't speak fluently, so maybe I don't know enough words. So I should study more words, I should keep learning more words, and I will develop my fluency. So that's a belief that people might have. But actually, when you keep learning more words, but you don't actually feel confident about what you're learning, then you're not going to use more words anyway. So even if you continue growing your vocabulary, it's not going to make you a better speaker. All right. So again, certainty, like we're trying to be precise about something, making sure it's exactly what we want. But like the difference between like here is something you believe, or something like, oh, but actually like it's not this thing, it's this thing over here. Actually, okay. So my mom looks at me and she says, you know, you're feeling or you're looking a little bit tired. So that's her impression. She looks at me, you look a little bit tired. I say, actually, I feel great. I just have hay fever. My eyes just hurt right now. All right. So it's an impression or something, but like the reality is different from that, actually. All right. And again, I'm only giving you a few examples of these, but if you think about how a native would learn the language, they get many, 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 many examples of these things, not just one. So the worst thing you can do is try to get one example with one translation, and then you wonder, why can't I speak fluently? All right, it's because you don't really feel very confident about what you know, because you just had one weak translation. It's a very poor, weak connection with that thing. All right, but as you get more native examples and you can start making real strong connections, you get more aha moments. Then, oh, look at that. Now the language becomes nice and easy, and I didn't have to force myself to do it. I didn't have to talk to a bunch of people to understand that. Just like now, if I can help you understand the difference between certainty or certainly and actually, or at least one difference here, that will give you an aha moment where you feel more confident about using these words. All right, it's not because you spoke, you didn't sit there repeating certainly, certainly, certainty, certainty, actually, actually. You're not repeating those things. The point is, how can I get more information or enough until your brain is like, ah, that's better. Okay? So think about it like that. Like you're just like the story I gave at the beginning of this video where we're talking about like Noelle is my younger daughter, Noelle. If you're getting late to the video, I do recommend you go back and watch it when it's posted on YouTube after this. But my younger daughter, Noelle, I was drying her hair and she had the TV volume maybe like this. So this is that even, okay, that fits. So 0 and then 100 up here. So I was drying her hair and the sound was really loud. So she took the remote and, okay, I'm going to turn the volume up, I'm going to make it louder and louder and louder and louder until, okay, now she can hear the sound or whatever much more clearly. And she gets to this point, ah, that's better, that's better, okay? So your brain is thinking the same thing, okay? Your brain is thinking the same thing. In the same way that Noelle is trying to turn up the volume until she gets it at just the right level, your brain is trying to do the same thing too. It's trying to get enough information, enough. We don't need to learn the whole language. The point is to learn like enough and make your brain understand enough that you feel confident about speaking, okay? So if you don't understand something, if you don't feel confident about it, you won't use the language, okay? You will have trouble speaking, you will think about grammar rules and all that. The point is it's a lack of confidence. It's the doubt in the language, usually because you just don't know it as well as you think you do. So if we can think about the ways that you might learn a language, the worst one, like the lowest level that would be most difficult for you is just getting translations. Because you're really just making one poor connection with a language or a word or phrase or whatever, rather than really understanding it and feeling confident about it. But the better way to learn would be to continue learning things in context. So you're learning everything in the language, just like right now you're learning English in English. And if I can do a good job of giving you aha moments, meaning if I can do a good job of helping you gain clarity or understand things without a doubt, if I can remove the doubt from you, then you will speak, okay? So you were born to speak, it's a natural thing. The problem is you've got doubts that stop you from communicating. So if we remove the doubts, then what would stop you from speaking? All right, makes sense? All right, let me go through final comments here. If anybody still doesn't get this idea, let me know. I really want this to be clear for people because once you get this, I'm trying to give you aha moments in this video as well as give you general aha moments about learning. So hopefully at least some of these are getting through. Let's see. All right, and Adelson says, thank you for answering. And Danielle says, nice to know you met Dave Matthews in Japan. No, I met him in Seattle, actually. I was working in a sushi restaurant in Seattle, Washington, back in the United States. They are going to Brazil in June, but I'll be in London. Thanks a lot for your class. I've been following you since 2019. Wow, well, it's my pleasure. If you know other people who would enjoy the lessons, then please share the video. Adelson says this video or this explanation gives me ha moments. Yes. Yes, so if you're laughing, you maybe like a ha moment rather than a aha moment. So CNC says, hey, what's up? Roll of 100%. When is the next live? Typically, I've been doing these about once a week, so we'll see if I continue doing that or not, but generally, it's around this time. Bridge says, Drew, your lessons have given me more confidence to speak. I hope so. That's why I do what I do. And typically, people don't say why that happens. They just notice that they feel more confident about speaking. But probably, I would guess the reason is that you feel more confident about speaking because you understand things better. All right. So if you don't know something well, then you probably won't feel confident about using it. But if you do know it well, you will have that confidence. Okay. So this is again another idea where you really can get fluent faster, get fluent more easily, and when you get an aha moment, it's almost instant when that feeling happens. It's even better than having like a pill that you could take. So people joke about like, there's no such thing as a fluency pill. It's like, well, there kind of is. It's more about like the typical way of learning where you're hitting your head with a hammer, trying to force yourself to remember things, or you're trying to speak, or you have no speaking opportunities and you think you can't speak. Okay, I don't know, I'm too shy or worried about mistakes. There are lots of reasons why people might think they can't improve, but really you just have to understand the language better, and you can do that even before you say a word. And that way, when you do have conversations, you'll feel confident about speaking. All right, that's the idea. So hopefully it's making sense to it. Alex says the aha moment, not an aha moment. Yes. Hopefully you're getting both. If I can give you, if I can try to do both, where I can make you laugh and help you understand something at the same time, you get both. You get an aha moment or whatever. All right, I notice your volume is a little down. It might just be where I'm turning my head. LN says, what are the differences between try to do and try doing? All right, I'm not gonna, I don't wanna go into like a whole bunch of more specific lessons about like when we do something, because it takes more time than just like a very quick lesson for some things like trying to understand trickier grammar. But these are the kinds of things that we do take time and help you understand things better in Fluent for Life. But you can also search our YouTube channel for that, because I've covered both of those things as well. Danielle says, I'm always sharing, but my friends prefer Brazilian teachers because they think it's too hard to learn when you don't speak English. Give them Frederick. So tell them to download that and just install that on their phone, and they can start playing with it, and they will prove to themselves that they can learn English in English. It's an interesting thing where people continue to, like, you know, if you're Brazilian and your native language is Portuguese and you're trying to learn English, the natural thing for you to do is to go get a Portuguese teacher who can explain things to you. But if you actually want to speak, the people who become fluent and the people who become fluent quickly are the ones that can understand English all in English. So if you start doing that from the beginning, then it's the same way I teach my own children. So my kids are Japanese and American, or Japanese and whatever you want to call me, but they're learning English and Japanese because of the way I teach them. All right, so I don't have a lot of time to sit and teach my kids, so I have to be very quick. I have to know how to deliver aha moments to them very quickly. Also, they watch TV shows and other things, so they're learning all the time. But the point is, if you can be efficient, if you can do this systematically, then you can actually learn the language very easily within the language. All right. Yeah. So like, tell your friends. Just click on the link, and they can get it from Android or Apple. Both of those are fine. But thank you again for sharing the video. I know, like, it's a difficult thing. The next app I make will be for those intermediate learners. So Frederick is the foundation, and lots of people, are even adult learners who know a lot of English, use the app to improve their pronunciation and really understand basic grammar and even more complex things, but it will teach you English all in English. That's the whole point of the app. But the next app, we're going to do something even cooler. We'll talk more about that later. But anyway, so thank you for sharing that. And if more people would like to see how it's possible to learn English in English, especially if you are a beginner of the language, give them that. Let's see, Adelson says, I live in Angola right now. It's about 3 a.m. We speak Portuguese. Very interesting. Jade says, morning from Hanoi, Vietnam. Thanks for all the things you did to help us over the years. It's my pleasure. Kik says, sup. Danielle says, okay, I'll share Frederick and a lot of aha moments. Yes, so when you play Frederick, the whole point, like what I'm doing in this video is me trying to give you aha moments. But when you play Frederick, you actually give them to yourself. So you learn through active discovery by playing with the language and learning how things work, like learning how sounds work or grammar works, other things like that, not by studying rules, but by really understanding the language all in English. All right. Bridget says, how do you get rid of beliefs that fluency is difficult? Well, the way I do it is try to prove to you that just through examples that like, it's not about like trying to understand the whole language or to say that like learning English in general is easy or it's fast or whatever. If I can take one point, like one grammar point, one vocabulary example, something like that, and show you that this thing is easy to do, it's much easier for you to take that and think, I wonder, or maybe that means like other things are also easy to learn too. So I don't just say, yeah, English is easy to learn, you don't have to worry about anything. I actually have to do the hard work of making sure that you understand how something works. Okay, so if I can do that, if I can create the situation or the lesson or whatever that helps you do that, then you will become a confident speaker faster, and then you will learn that lesson yourself. So the principle that I'm really trying to teach you, like the foundational idea, is if you understand something well, you will use it confidently and fluently. But if you have doubts, if you don't understand something well, if you feel unsure for whatever reason, like you want to use a word but you don't quite know about the usage, like I want to say actually, but maybe I'm not sure about what it means, then you're not going to use actually. You know, in the same way like a native speaker might use a word, but not, you know, like use a word like around, I don't know, like because they have like the spelling, like they don't know the spelling of it, then they won't use the word. So that happens in natives frequently. So if they're not confident about something, they won't use it, all right? Anyway, so that's the idea. So if you want to change like your own belief about that, you just need to demonstrate it to yourself that it is possible. And if you've ever had any aha moments, like speaking specifically about this language learning example, if you've ever had an aha moment, you think, wow, here is a time where I did feel more confident and certain about the language almost instantly. So I learned something, I understood it quickly, and then I was able to use it with confidence, and that happened in like, you know, a minute or two. And that shows you if I can do it with one word or one phrase, I probably could do it with more. And so that's what I do. Like when I started learning Japanese, I had already failed to learn languages for many years. And so I was continuing to learn Japanese the traditional way. So I assumed when I came to Japan, okay, now everybody says immersion is the most important thing. Immersion. So if I live in Japan around Japanese people, I should become a confident, fluent speaker faster. But it didn't happen like that. Even when I spent time around people, I just felt more nervous because I didn't want to speak. I would listen to people and they were too difficult to understand. And so I had all these problems that actually were worse by the immersion. And again, part of that, or really the main part or the main reason for that, was because I was still trying to study the traditional way. So I still believed that if I study more, if I study harder, then I will get what I want. I will get the fluency. But it never worked like that for me, and it typically doesn't work that way for lots of people, and that's why I help people learn English today. So I want to show people it is possible to do that, and most of my videos, probably all of them, I guess, are giving some kind of aha moment or really trying to help you understand something, either learning about language learning in general. So I talk a lot about that. I probably talk too much about that. I think in the future, I will do more videos that are just giving people lots of aha moments and that's it. We'll see, but that's the basic idea. So if you believe one thing, you really need to see an example of something else that can make you think about it in a different way. All right, let me know if that idea makes sense. But try not to think about like fighting against the belief generally, like English is difficult or my life is bad or something. Like try to find a specific thing where that's not true. So we're looking for a counter example, a counter argument. All right, so if I can help you understand something easily and you think, oh, like I got it, like now I understand how to use that, then you can think about how you would also apply that to other things. All right, the more aha moments you get, the faster you get fluent. And I've never seen that not to be true. So hopefully people get the idea. Keck says, Saxon pride worldwide. Yes, everyone should, have pride in themselves. No reason not to. All right. If anybody has any more questions, let me know. I will give a quick recap of this. But again, the basic idea is if you're learning through things that cause you to hesitate or feel doubt or you have questions and you're not getting those questions answered, you're not getting those doubts erased, then you will continue to struggle because in general, people feel difficult or have difficulty speaking when they don't feel confident that they will speak correctly. So if you think you might make a mistake, then you're not going to use words or you might just avoid speaking altogether. But if you can feel confident first, just by really understanding things well, then you will be much more confident about speaking. And download Frederick, just like Danielle is recommending. Yes, I want you to prove this to yourself, and you can. So there, I think like maybe 100 words or something. I forget how many words there are in the first 3 levels of Frederick altogether. But when you start playing with the app, and there are no instructions in it, so it doesn't matter what your native language is, you really have to discover and start playing with the app a little bit. We're trying to think of better ways to get people into the app without needing to explain things, but the whole idea is active discovery. So it's not like I help you discover something, you actively do it yourself, because that's the fastest way you can learn something. If you have a situation where you can understand things very quickly, then you can move through the app as quickly as you like, all right, and get fluent very fast. So if you'd like to improve your pronunciation, your listening, build your vocabulary, there are over 2,000 words and sentences in the app. You should play with that and it will help you do so. All right, Saeed says, do you think people who have a tutor to speak with have the ability to achieve fluency faster than just learners? It's possible, but the problem with tutors is that even if you have a good one, like let's say I think I'm an awesome tutor. So I have, me teaching the example, even me teaching my own children. Like I think I'm a pretty good teacher and I can help people understand things quickly. The problem is that the rest of the world is not going to speak like I do. So typically people will have private lessons and a tutor might explain something. Maybe they know how to teach the way I do. Maybe they know how to give you aha moments, or maybe they don't. Maybe they just say, well, here's this grammar point or whatever. So it depends on how they teach you. But the bigger problem is that listening to one person, it's really difficult to prepare yourself for all of the different kinds of ways that people might speak. So you'll have different levels of politeness, different speeds that people speak in or speak at. You might have different accents, different dialects, different slang, or just ways of speaking. And so one person in a classroom, it doesn't matter if it's a private tutor, like just working with you personally, or in a classroom, like even if you only listen to me, I'm speaking quite clearly now. And it's a different way of talking than how natives often express themselves. So it's good to have a person who can help you, but a private tutor, like, number one, they would really have to know how to teach the language well, meaning they know how to make it understandable all in English. And then the second thing is they would have to be able to give you or recommend ways that you can get efficiently lots of other native examples, okay? So often what happens is people will get a tutor or something like that, and they will think, okay, I have a tutor now and that tutor can correct me. So if I say something wrong, the tutor can correct my mistakes. But what we really want you to do is to learn the language so that you can correct your own mistakes. So that's what I can do now. Like when I'm learning Japanese, I can hear something and think, oh, that sounds right, or that doesn't sound right. I have a good understanding of how the language works. And I can learn new things without having a personal teacher teach me. But again, like you're kind of at this level here with a personal tutor where they're probably speaking differently than they would speak with their friends or family or whatever, especially if it's a native English speaker that you're learning with. And so here is like this level of English over here. So it's not zero, you know, whatever they're teaching you, but native English is going to be at a much higher level over here. So it's going to be faster. You're going to have more slang or other expressions that you're not used to. And even if your teacher gives you corrections, natives can say things differently. All right. And another point is that really like trying to sound perfect, it actually can make you sound unnatural or less natural in conversations. So I remember learning that, like when I came to Japan, I had my phrase book and my listening CDs. Do you remember CDs? Does anybody use CDs anymore to learn? So I had my listening practice CDs and I would listen and the Japanese was very clear, very easy to understand, but people didn't really speak like that. So I would learn Ohayo gozaimasu, Ohayo gozaimasu, like in good morning, you know, people say Ohayo gozaimasu. But like often, you know, in a real greeting, like I remember being at a school when I was working at a school when I first came to Japan, and like an old guy, he greeted me, he just said, us. And I thought, wait a minute, that's not in my phrase book. I don't remember learning that. And so like the kind of simple things that you learn or the slow pronunciation or the easy examples, it's a whole different thing from this. So it's a good idea, just like right now, it's a good idea to have someone be able to teach you, but you also need lots of examples that really prepare you to speak. All right? So communication itself is unpredictable. We don't know what other people are going to say. So I can't just take some like practicing or, you know, phrases and try to repeat them because natives will say something different. All right? So natives might have a different pronunciation or whatever. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you're using like private tutors or AI or whatever. Anytime you're getting only clear examples of something, it's going to be more difficult to adjust to the real world. So you really need to get both. This is why we give you both in Fluent for Life, because I really want to make sure people can understand things, but also that they are prepared actually to communicate. So I need to give you aha moments about really all of this, like how do we learn the language, but also how to connect things well so you use them confidently and fluently, like actually without thinking and hesitating and translating when you speak. All right, looks like we got a last few comments in here. Let's see what we have. So hopefully that makes sense. So having a private tutor is nice if you have one, but like for me, I can learn very quickly because I know how to learn. And like, I mean, even my own wife doesn't really teach me very much. It's hard to like get her to tell me things. And I could have that from a teacher, but there's a lot of information already available, and I know how to get it in a way that instead of having one person to learn with, I would rather have 10 different people to learn with. And so I know how to learn efficiently like that because I need to prepare for how natives actually say something. If I only hear one clear teacher, that's not going to prepare me for how people really speak, okay? And this is why you can have people studying for years, like they can have private lessons for many years, but still struggle because this language sounds like a very different language than this language over here. So just keep that in mind as you're learning. Tajwar says, what's the app? I missed something, I guess. It's called Frederick. You can click on the link in the description below this video. The first link will take you to Fluent for Life. If you'd like to learn more about that, that's for people who really want to communicate confidently and fluently. Maybe they've been learning for a long time, but they struggle to speak. So we give you basically thousands of aha moments like I've been talking about in this video to make you a confident speaker. And then Frederick is about basically teaching yourself how to communicate confidently and fluently, improve your pronunciation. It's kind of the next level of being able to learn because you get to control it. You're not waiting for an app to tell you what to do. You get to explore the language and see what happens. Edelson says, right now I can understand everything teacher is saying, but I'm struggling to understand Stephen Curry English. His English looks very fast and different. Yes, so like me giving an explanation versus Stephen Curry giving an explanation, or really any other native speaker, or even me teaching a lesson versus me talking with my friend, it's a different kind of English, okay? So you need to prepare for both. So in Fluent for Life, we do that. We actually show you, make sure you understand things, but it's more of like a process where we give you some steps so that you make sure you understand things, you move up at a comfortable level so we can go from this English up to this English up here, where you can really understand things, even more difficult slang or faster speech, that kind of thing. But whether you have a private teacher or not, it's not necessary to have that. The point is really to get those moments of understanding. The faster you get understanding, the faster you speak. Most people, even if they have private lessons, are not doing it all the time, but you could be getting aha moments, you know, lots of them throughout the day without waiting for a teacher or a practice partner. Lucas says, how to improve my speaking, deleting my accent, not to be a Brazilian English speaker, but talk like a native. So again, the same thing. If you, let's say I live in Brazil and I'm learning from a Brazilian teacher, I'm probably going to sound like that teacher. But even if I live in Brazil and I'm learning from a native English speaker, or I have even better, a bunch of native English speakers who can teach me, then I'm going to naturally come to sound like that. So this is why, again, like what we do in Fluent for Life is give you a bunch of different examples of different native speakers. So that way you can really feel confident that your voice, the way you speak English, it's unique to you, but it would still sound like a native speaker rather than kind of a Portuguese, you know, kind of accent in the way you might talk. So if you want to sound more like a native, then you need to surround yourself with native English, but again, doing it in a systematic way, not just like watching a bunch of random movies or whatever. You need to erase the doubt that stops you from speaking. So even if you watch movies, if you don't understand a lot of it, or you don't review that information well and really come to know it, like you own the language, then you're not going to use it fluently. So we've thought about all this. That's why I organized Fluent for Life and built it the way I did, to make sure people really understand the language and have no doubt about speaking. That's really the principle. When you have doubt, you're going to struggle to speak. And so if you're worried about your pronunciation, that's how we can help you. So again, whether you learn with me or not, like whether you get Frederick or Fluent for Life or whatever, the point is you really want to get lots of examples that erase the doubt that stops you from speaking. But get Frederick or Fluent for Life, you can learn more about those by clicking on the links before or below this video. George says, yes, linguaphone, and Edelson said, I mean, his English is very fast and connected. Yeah. Said says, got it, thanks. Ruben says, excellent job, teacher, glad to hear it. Well, if people have enjoyed this, do click the like button and let me know. Post a comment that you've understood the video. Even tell me if you've had some aha moments yourself, whether learning from me or anywhere else, or even outside of English. But you will probably notice them more when you start thinking about it. So you're in your daily life and you solve a problem, or the answer just comes to you naturally. You don't need a lot of like active pushing and trying hard in order to become a more confident speaker. The point is really to help your brain understand things well, until your brain is like, ah, that's better. Now I understand what I'm trying to say and I can communicate fluently. All right, that'll be it for this video, but thank you for joining me. If you have enjoyed it, again, click the like button and you can learn more about both Frederick and Fluent for Life by clicking on the links in the description below this video. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.